Well, hello Riven mains and Yasuo mains alike. I am the Nightwing, Way of Life Esports, coming at you guys with another League of Legends video. As you guys know, the LCS finals kicked off yesterday. This was the last match of the LCS for the 2019 summer split. It feels like we only just started with Cloud9 versus FlyQuest only just a couple months ago, but now we have come full circle. And as happy and sad as I am to say that Cloud9 lost to TL 3-2, I'm gonna have to unveil all of my thoughts and opinions because I'm probably gonna end up coming off in a specific way that might be, good and bad depending on how people were to per se take my opinion. It's at the end of the day, it's just my opinion, and I feel like that a lot of certain things have to be said. But before I get to any of that, I'm just gonna get into the series. So basically, even if I broke down all the games, you guys just watched all the games. This has been the most talked about thing for League as of right now because of how drafting went, player interactions in terms of the trash talk. Then you have the players actually playing really good on both sides in various games. The only game that I would even say was the absolute worst of the series was Game 5. I thought Game 5 was, it was hard to believe TL wouldn't win Game 5 after the draft. After TL and Cloud9 had a really close game in Game 4, I was like, okay, they had a really close game in Game 4. It was right in their hands. They could have won 3-1. As per my prediction, 3-1. They almost won 3-1. But they sadly fell in that Game 4 with a lot of mistakes on the Cloud9 part, in which they had actually outdrafted TL. But TL's players, being the veterans, being more of the superstars, got the better of Cloud9, and then they ended up closing out that Game 4, which brought it to a Game 5. Once I saw the draft, I was like, I just did not believe they were gonna win. I was really mad at the draft that we prepared for the game. I don't understand the Caitlyn ban in certain games, when you have to understand that I know people are going to fanboy over Sneaky, and I like Sneaky too. I've met him before. If you follow me on social media, I've met and talked to him before. This has nothing to do with him as a person. This has something to do with Cloud9 basically thinking that the best they can do is Sneaky. I'm not talking about Deathly. I'm talking about purely Sneaky. I know some people were calling for Sneaky to, obviously, get benched or make sure that Deathly is their sub 80 carry for Worlds with that type of, aspect as well. I'm not really talking about international performances because, ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what matters the most, is international performance. That's what I always, count as more to me, because international experience and international showings by certain players are going to have a bigger dent, because that's the way it should be. These players work all year to get to Worlds. They work and play all year to get to Worlds. And if you don't perform well at Worlds, then to me, you are not going to really do well later on at other international competitions, even though you might do well at your own region in general. And I feel like this comes with the added bonus that Cloud9 will have Sneaky himself do well at Worlds, and then in the regular season leading up to finals or semifinals in which he gets to, he just kind of falls off a cliff. Now, with that being said, with Sneaky per se, he didn't play good all split anyway, so going into the series, I didn't think the bot lane could be a win condition, and it was not a win condition. I don't know where people get this idea that they were a win condition. Zeyzal himself was a win condition, but them as a duo was not. Zeyzal played pretty much out of his mind for like 4 games straight. So did Niski. So did Licorice. Licorice obviously dominating Impact. Pretty much except for every game except for that game 1 where they gave him Karma. Like, oh my god, when I saw that Karma, it's just a curse. Every time you see Karma, you lose. Any team picks Karma, they lose. It's just a known trend at this point. I don't care what Karma did in LPL when their better teams and better players actually performed the pick right, I don't care. And anything that's not the LPL, which they did it right, doesn't matter. Any team that picks Karma loses. Pick it mid, pick it top, pick it support, pick it in your butt. It doesn't matter. You lose no matter what. So yeah, Licorice performed well all games. Since Scarin, I feel like played good, but the game 5 he kind of choked. I feel like they should not have given him J4. It was a really obvious thing they were going to do was either, ban or take the Sejuani away. Team Liquid chose the latter, and then we're stuck on J4 again, and the J4 flashbacks from the TSM series. Am I right, guys? Come on. But the added bonus on Sneaky is that people keep saying that he played good and bad, and, that can be up for debate. Obviously, we're silver Reddit analysts at the end of the day, but you have to factor in, it's something that Team Liquid themselves went through, I think a couple years ago when they had Piglet, was that they probably didn't think they could do better than Piglet at that current point in time because he was their import ADC. He was supposed to be their superstar. Now, in Sneaky's case, that's not the same. He's definitely performed well at certain international competition. He's definitely carried them at certain points as well. He's been the most consistent player on the team for a while, but when you have someone like Doublelift, how can Cloud9 basically compete with Team Liquid in the bot lane when they don't have that in their bot lane? It's the same situation they went through with Bjergsen and High a long time ago. They couldn't compete with TSM because High was too much a liability against Bjergsen, where he basically just insta-fed as soon as they loaded onto the Rift. I don't get why the same thing can't be done for Sneaky, because he's just not performing very well. Yeah, he had some pop-up games. Everybody did. I'm not talking about him getting dove. I'm not talking about him getting, focused in team fights by the mid laner, by Jensen. That's not his fault. I mean, obviously, Jensen was playing Akali in most of the games, which should have been banned, and he got focused. That's not his fault. I'm talking about own individual play in that lane specifically, where he was getting solo killed and he was being a liability. Team Liquid doesn't have that in their lane. The same thing Cloud9 fixed with their mid lane and fixed in that position and the jungle, later on having, multiple junglers at this point. Why can't that be the same thing for the AD carry position? Is definitely that solution? I don't know. I'll give Sneaky another showing at Worlds because obviously that just matters more in general. But we're not going to be seeing Cloud9 for a little bit because they're not going to have another shot at playing up until Worlds. October is when Worlds starts, right? So we won't be seeing Cloud9 for a bit, and I hopefully, Sneaky improves. He did not play well this split. I don't know where people thought he played good with this split. He definitely didn't play good in this series, but he did perform really well in spring. MVP level candidate. Me and JTH when he used to be on here, we had him at our All Pro ADC. He played that good in spring, and it wasn't even fan bias. People even looked at him. Other ADCs called him really good. I don't know what happened. If that same Sneaky from the spring was in this series alone, that would have been the difference in the series, but that didn't happen. So basically going over the games and draft, guys, you have to understand when it comes to draft and stuff like that, you have to understand this, the draft you prepare has to be executed by your players. In theory, when you load up into a game, the coaches prepare a draft, teams prepare a draft through their scrims, obviously through their, scrim blocks or whatever, but your players should be good enough to pull off your compositions. I've seen worse compositions in the other regions themselves. I've seen the LCK play compositions just like Cloud9 does. I've seen LEC play compositions just like Team Liquid's. Now, each side is going to have their fair shot at winning, but it's up to your players at the end of the day to pull off what you guys have prepared. If they're good enough, they'll pull it off. Whether your comp has low engage, low priority in certain lanes, low wave clear, doesn't matter. Certain teams are just that good that those little weaknesses that people always seem to talk about, that they seem to really make games lost by draft, don't matter to better teams. Better teams don't care if their comps have limited wave clear or basically, limited types of aspects to make their composition win. It's just the players themselves should be good enough to perform at the level to make the composition work. Now, going after all the games, most of the games were pretty bad back and forth for the majority of the series. Game 1, it was close for a little bit. Team Liquid got the upper hand with Dragons, and then they got the Baron. Doublelift was on Kai'Sa most of the series. Game 2, Cloud9 strike back with Niski playing Aurelia, Svenskeren coming into his form again, obviously, and they steamroll that game. Game 3, they have a slugfest again. again, but Cloud9 is winning majority of the slugfest, and you know it's their game anyway. And Jensen having a massive, great performance in the series alone, and obviously Niski and him were pretty much neck and neck most of the series. Game 5 comes along. They somehow... I know people get mad at the Aatrox mid pick. Niski used to be the Aatrox mid guy. I don't know why that's... the Aatrox mid is not the problem because it does well into Akali. Being able to perform well on the pick is what matters at that current moment in time. It did not happen. He got solo killed, and Svenskeren was on J4, and he really didn't make that much an impact. And Team Liquid eventually claimed the series over Cloud9, and they are the back-to-back champions, and Cloud9 have their 6-year title drought. Yes, we already have titles, but it would be nice to win one, at some point during the franchise era of League. And I know people are always saying things like Steve bought the players. Well, yeah, he wants to win. I just only would imagine a person who wants to win League would buy the best players. And people say, oh, he spends all his money to do that. People do that in other sports anyway. I don't know why this is such the big exception to that. I don't care if he buys the best players. I actually like that he buys the best players because that gives the region more competition. I'll say it to your face right now. I love that he buys the best players. Buy all the best players you want. Makes the region better. Makes people want to strive for something. And he bought Jensen, bought Korjiji. Good for him. Great for him. He's winning titles now. I always liked Steve as an owner. I always felt bad for Liquid back in the day when they were at like relegation zones and stuff like that. I was like, they're much better than that. And to now see them back to back champions is a good thing in a certain way, because now you have to question is Team Liquid the best roster in NALCS history? That's obviously going to be debated with the TSM, pre-franchising era. And now we basically had the Cloud9 era, the CLG era, Team Liquid era, and now we have the TSM era. So we have basically 4 iterations of era in North America. I say that's pretty diverse, because when you go to things like Europe, it's been pretty much G2 and Fnatic, so you're kind of at a weird stalemate there. So yeah, it's okay. Liquid win, Cloud9 go a second seed. It's okay. There's certain points where a second seed gets like somewhat easier teams, but in theory it's Worlds. You're not really gonna get easier teams. Theoretically, now that Cloud9 is second place, they most likely might get Griffin in their group. Oh my god, I would, oh my lord, I don't want Griffin in my group. Holy moly. Team Liquid have cemented their place in League of Legends history after becoming the first team to win 4 straight LCS championships in a row. Cloud9 took the Giants to map 5, but failed to overcome the Liquid roster. Over the deciders of the match would be the battle of the bot lane. Some of the best players in North America, Sneaky and Liquid's Doublelift, would provide one of the most back and forth battles in the playoffs. Liquid kicked the series off strong as they had an early lead in the bottom lane after Sneaky was taken down in a skirmish. Sneaky would later move into the mid lane and get revenge on Liquid, however, winning a crucial team fight in the early game as Liquid continued the mid lane. Another fight, this time in the mid game, would go the way of Cloud9 after Liquid's miscommunicated their push. Cloud9's former mid laner Jensen would come out with a bang. Liquid, as he dismantled his former team in a brilliant usage of his ultimate, taking down 2 of his opponents, Impact and Doublelift, continued to trend with his momentum by finding kills of their own in the mid lane and top lane. Their 3-pronged attack, Liquid would win the first game, and then led later on to describing every single game basically. And then it all came down to a 5th and final game. Was an epic display of talent across each roster. The 2 best teams in North America fought one final time in this game. Game 5 began with the first blood for Liquid, eliminating Cloud9's early game pressure. Liquid continued with the momentum by taking the early game gold over Cloud9. Doublelift continued his domination after finding another crucial kill in the mid lane to take another tower. After a final team fight win near Baron, Liquid ran away with Game 5, winning 3-2 overall. Both teams locked their place at the 2019 World Championship last week, but Liquid has taken the first seed thanks to today's win. Cloud9 now holds the second seed due to championship points, while the final seed from North America will be decided in the regional qualifier in 2 weeks. So yeah, it's very, very nice to see that, the boys really played their hearts out. I mean, yeah, I have my criticisms of certain draft picks and certain players and how they performed in the series, but overall the boys played out of their minds, and so did the Team Liquid boys, and it was great to see the series. I did not like the Game 5, but it doesn't take me away from all the other games. That was actually pretty fun to watch. So it's okay. I'll see Cloud9 again at Worlds. Hopefully Team Liquid can hold up to the North American legacy that Cloud9 has built for North America, and at least doing well internationally. But I hope that we have two teams that can do something internationally, and who knows, maybe the third team is a sleeper team that we just don't think is gonna do well, like Vitality was last year, and then come out, having some surprising drafts and strategies. I mean, you never really know with these type of issues. And yeah, I'll be previewing the Gauntlet for you guys coming up in about a week or so. We're gonna get all our previews and predictions out the way. Who do I think is gonna win the Gauntlet? I have absolutely no clue, and I really don't care because I don't support none of those guys. But maybe FlyQuest is a sleeper. Maybe because people are like, well, FlyQuest have had a chance to watch everything. It doesn't really matter, honestly. They're probably getting knocked out round 1 anyway. But I think in terms of the caliber of players that have the most potential at Worlds, I wouldn't want TSM. But if I'm looking at just players on the roster, I would want TSM there. But we haven't seen TSM in a while at this point, so that is just up to assumption right now. So, yep, Cloud9 lost 2-3, and Liquid is our back to back first time 4P champions. See you guys later. Like, comment, subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm the Nightwing, and Way of Life Esports is signing out. Peace.